Hawkeye, the first season has finally wrapped. Disney Plus's newest holiday MCU extravaganza. And we're going to figure out, was it good? We are Was It Good? I am Ravi, joined by Krishna and virtually Arjuna somewhere on this planet. Mr. Michael is over in the producer's chair. And we're going to just jump in right off the bat.
Oh, was it good? Ravi, was Hawkeye good?
Well, actually, one thing you said in your intro was season 1. But we don't actually know if this is season 1 or a miniseries. It hasn't been made clear if there's more to come, so it could be series finale.
The big thing too is a lot of people had speculated that Clint Hawkeye was actually going to die by the end of this.
Yeah, I thought so.
Which I did too, and the ending that we actually got. So in our previous pod that we did earlier this week, which was primarily on the Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness. We all did our rankings, right, in terms of MCU things. And I had put this Hawkeye series, even though I hadn't seen the full thing, I'd put it somewhere in the middle. And I can safely say now that I've seen that ending, I ranked it too high.
Oof.
Should have been ranked way lower.
Already showing your cards.
There's a debate. I think there's a good debate we can have at the end of this podcast of, we don't need to do a whole re-ranking, but I think we can talk about the Disney Plus shows as a whole and where this ranks in the back end.
Top of the heap. Oh, man.
Now, as we always...
But no, I think what's interesting about this show was, we're talking about miniseries versus season 1. The finale makes me feel like there's going to be a season 2. But I'm sure we'll get into it. But I thought the whole time this was going to be a miniseries, but the way it ended, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, Clint doesn't die, as we said, and he doesn't retire necessarily either. He's kind of...
Well, you could argue a part of him did die.
Well, the Ronin died.
The Ronin died.
Yeah.
He refers to Kate as his partner.
Yep.
And it doesn't. There's no definitive scene of him hanging up the bow per se. So he's very much still
in play,
and it seems like he's more active than he was at the beginning of this show.
And maybe he'll get to partner up with Agent 19,
Mockingbird.
Ooh. I didn't know what I had to look that up. I had no idea.
When you started, when you started looking that up, you saw the Agents of Shield.
I saw the Agents of Shield, and I immediately turned my brain off.
Oh, wow.
Because it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. No, I'm kidding. But, I mean, honestly, I didn't know Agent 19 was a thing. Never heard of the Mockingbird. Mockingbird?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, never heard of Mockingbird before. It's interesting because I didn't even know this was a discussion that a lot of people had theorized that she was Mockingbird after her very first appearance in Age of Ultron.
Yeah,
people were calling it out because I guess her and Hawkeye, have a thing. They have like history and stuff. So people like that she might be, that character. And now obviously they've confirmed it.
So would you then say the Rolex, the Agent 19?
Totally over my head. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't gonna say that, but that's just all then what, fan service?
Well, it depends, right? I mean, if it's fan service, it seems like the fans that it was serving are very happy with it. Mm-hmm. So it works.
Except the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans.
Again, only people who watched that could comment on that. I didn't. I don't
all
know.
16 of them.
All 16 fans? That's a lot.
Yes.
1,600.
16 million fans.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of hardcore Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans. I look at the same way. There are some sci-fi shows out there. Like Firefly has I would argue a niche. Yeah, kind of hardcore like cult following. Yeah. Babylon 5,
yes,
something
Stargate SG-1.
Stargate SG-1's another kind of good one because I'm part of that cult.
I was an SG-2 fan myself.
Shut up. They were bad.
And wait, there wasn't SG-2?
There wasn't it. The whole reason the show's called SG-1 is because there were multiple teams.
No, I get that. I thought that would have been SG-2 show.
I don't think there was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There wasn't. I remember as a kid I thought there was, but there wasn't.
Yeah, I'd be more interested in SG-2 personally. I was like the losers of the squads.
I'm surprised you didn't want an SG-69.
Oh, they skipped over that one. Yeah. But here, let's recap the season in one word. A one-word impression to kind of recap the entire series. Arjun, you go first. What would you say your one word impression is?
Flat. My one word impression is flat.
Flat.
Because this show, unfairly or fairly, the last thing that you see for a show is how you somewhat judge it a little bit. You know,
of course, absolutely.
We've talked ad nauseum on this pod. We had multiple pods about this on the final season of Game of Thrones, the finale, how disappointing that was, how that really colored our perception of the entire show differently. And I think for me, this finale fell flat and colored my perception of the entire series differently. It was the weakest episode by a long shot. The episode from the very beginning to me felt off. The pacing was off. The whole Kingpin thing, I'm sure we're going to get into that and whatever the hell that was. Every decision that, there was definitely some strong parts of the finale. The continued relationship between Yelena and Kate was easily the saving grace, but yeah, there was a lot of stuff that felt like that didn't work. They didn't feel like there was a satisfactory conclusion to really anything that was kind of introduced in this show. And it's almost why I feel like there's a season 2, because it just feels like a big incomplete to me. Now I think a lot of the Kingpin and Echo stuff is setting up for the Echo spinoff that is coming to Disney Plus.
Echo?
But
yeah, Maya.
Yes. Maya?
Her character in the comics is known as Echo.
She's getting a spinoff?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Okay.
Probably going to be a young Avenger.
So that, we can kind of, chalk some of the Kingpin stuff and how that concluded up to that. But I mean, I think specifically the stuff with Kate and Eleanor for me didn't really work at all, and was just kind of bizarre, and it was flat. It was all just flat.
It was flat. It was like Sprite that's been left out of the fridge.
You know what it was as well? It was
bad Christmas.
It was part of the acting as well. I'll say oh my God, why can't I remember Clint's name? The actor,
Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner surprised me in not this episode, but other episodes where he showed like really deep
range.
Emotional hurt from losing his best friend, and that was really good. But specific to this episode, the acting felt very much like, here's a script, and I'm just reading it, and that is the end of the day, and that's it. Even the Kingpin played
Vincent
by
D'Onofrio is probably the biggest culprit, in my opinion, because I think we know what he brings to the character from the Netflix shows, and whatever the performance was in this was, to
so
me at
different.
least, so different and so weird.
Well, it started well. It started really well because he had the mannerisms where his eyes are like twitching, his lips twitching with anger, and like you kind of saw a little bit of what you were used to in this Netflix Daredevil show, where you see his rage building, especially after he had the discussion with Maya and Kazi, and like I thought he was gonna like punch Kazi in the face or just flip a table
or like break his back
or something, but instead it was just like he pulled back, and then from that point it dropped like a pile of bricks. Yeah. And that's actually my one word impression.
Shirt Kingpin.
The Hawaiian shirt Kingpin. But my one word impression is dropped, as in they dropped the ball, like pretty hardcore. Again,
dropped
like
the balls.
Dropped the balls. There he goes. Again, like the MCU like Disney Plus shows, I always kind of figured they are supposed to. They're opening up avenues, right, for all these other interesting things. By the end of this series, I don't really care about anything new that was introduced. Like Echo is cool and all, and it was interesting, and like I like some of the back stuff, but by the end, I don't care. The stuff with Yelena and Clint, it felt, to Arjuna's point, flat, and therefore I don't care what happens going forward. Whatever. And that's kind of disappointing, right? Because other, I guess maybe WandaVision, What If did a good job, Loki did a good job. Like they did good jobs of like setting up other stuff with like Agatha as a spinoff that I'm interested to see. But man, with this show, it's just cool. Like if this is it, fine with that. A-okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're gonna get more of Kate Bishop and Yelena for sure, but I think what's disappointing to your point with the show is like there were some interesting ideas that were put throughout. Like I thought the Echo episode in the middle of the season was really interesting when you kind of got her backstory and who his character was. And then honestly, from there, it just felt like they did nothing with the character, or, you know, the choices that they made with the character didn't necessarily align with that. And it was like the character was just included because, oh, we know his spinoff is coming, not necessarily because it makes sense for the actual show itself. Even with the stuff with her in the finale, she didn't share any scenes with any of the main characters, right? Like it was almost entirely put forth to kind of further push that show and that conclusion.
Well, her entire point of being in the show was to connect Clint to Kingpin, and then we still don't even know really what's the story there.
Right, and then again, scenes with Kingpin.
Do we care?
And Hawkeye, right?
We just know that
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say we just know, like, what we learned there was that during the blip, when Hawkeye was vulnerable, feeling rage and anger and sadness from losing his family, he was vulnerable, and the Kingpin took advantage. That's that connection. That's why he was killing all those people. It's because the Kingpin, had him under his thumb. He worked for the Kingpin. I thought that was a little weird too, because I'm like, Hawkeye has saved the world. He's saved the world from like aliens and helped against Thanos. But he lets like a guy like the Kingpin run around kind of free. Like he's gonna take on like these supernatural elements, but for whatever reason, the Kingpin is a guy that
he worked for the Kingpin.
Oh, okay. Do you think it was something different?
No, I think what he was doing was, as the Ronin, he was going around killing people he like deemed were bad, right? So like think about the Avengers Endgame scene where he's, killing the Yakuza.
Yes.
I figured he ran in like as he was doing that throughout the world, right? So when he was in New York, which probably was for a bulk of his time, he ran into the Tracksuit Mafia and the Kingpin and was a part of that. And then what his connection to the Kingpin directly is, the Kingpin killed Maya's father and made it look like it was Ronin, which was Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye, but it wasn't.
Hawkeye says that her boss, Kingpin, told him to kill. So he killed her father for Kingpin.
Yeah. So yeah.
John, here's another thing. I looked at it more as Kazi told Ronin where everybody was because Kazi wanted to take over, and in order to do that, he had to remove the father. Which I think the Kingpin is involved in the sense of Kazi probably went to the Kingpin and said something along the lines of, I can be a better frontman or whatever. That's how I took it. Again, it's actually kind of fascinating that everybody took it a different way. Yeah, but it goes to the point that, what is the fucking connection?
I really thought in his conversation with Maya or Echo, it was that because he said, we're the same. And the Kingpin, and I thought that was like a very direct line. I thought very direct about it. I really did think it was. Maybe we should go back and rewatch it, but I really, being misused as a weapon because of the anger, and that makes it seem like the Kingpin was using
Ronin
during
the blip,
during the thing.
Your boss wanted your father dead. Like explicitly says, I was told. Your boss wanted
Right. So that seems pretty clear, but
then why kill Maya's father? What was the point of that from the Kingpin's perspective?
I would assume he wanted to use Maya, and if her father was still there in the way, he wouldn't have been able to do that. So he's just removing an obstacle. It's the Kingpin, yeah.
I think regardless, it's all very not well told.
It's not well laid out at all. Like, it's not obvious, and maybe that's the lure and the magic of it, right? So it sucks you back in when some other content comes out, and you're like, "Oh, I really need to know." But again, I don't think that's the case. Yeah, Christian, what's your one-word impression?
My one-word impression is I'm gonna have a positive here. It's gonna be Pugh. As in Florence Pugh.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I once again, I think she was a revelation again. Even though she was easily I think the best part of Black Widow, I think once again, every time she was on screen in Hawkeye, she kind of blew everything else away. Like I was like, she is so good as that character. And the part that really struck me is how Yelena interacts with Kate Bishop, like this sort of like light-hearted facade.
I almost looked at it like
sister,
sisters.
Older sister. Yeah. And then how she was when she came across Clint. She switches on a dime. You could feel that anger, and I was like,
she's ready to murder.
Florence Pugh nailed that character, and the same way that I tuned in to the early Marvel stuff to watch the performances by Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. I'm like, oh man, that he is Iron Man, right? Same thing with Chris Evans and Captain America. I think Florence Pugh is right up there. Like she is Yelena, and I'm very excited to see. I'm hoping, in my opinion, the character's been so good, and the two properties or the two events that she's appeared in, maybe haven't utilized her in the best way. But I'm hoping, her moment will come where she'll get to shine.
Before we jump ahead a little bit here, usually for one word impressions, it's usually just the three of us. But Michael has added his into our outline,
which seems like a positive.
And Michael, you're saying classic. Why are you going with classic for your one word impression?
It was the whole series really, but this finale was a classic. Action adventure like I used to watch in the 80s, like Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis and all of those things with all that wacky, like the arrows and just the fighting and the whole situation with the bad guys and the jokes just reminded me of what action movies were when I was younger.
Kind of like a
action movie. The return of more trick arrows was definitely fun.
The Home Alone scene.
Very Home Alone. Actually, that's a great way.
And when the show leaned into like a lot of the Christmas types of tropes and stuff, I thought that's when the show was best. Yeah. I think when it tried to do more of the, as we just talked about, like more of that serious stuff with like Ronin and Kingpin and whatnot, like the show didn't work as well for me.
Here's a question with the like along the holiday tropes and everything. Obviously, this series is set like around a week or so before Christmas, similar to how another recent Marvel movie ended, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Do you think that having it settled in such a very distinct time period, Christmas, was going to kind of like ruin the show for rewatch capabilities just because it's now deemed a Christmas series?
I think it'll help it.
Okay.
I think for the people who enjoy Marvel and the people who enjoy Christmas, and I would think the crossover, there's probably a lot of crossover there, especially now that Disney has bought it. Or
wait, do you enjoy Christmas outside of Christmas?
No.
Does anybody?
Some people, yeah. The Christmas season to people starts as soon as Thanksgiving ends. The decorations go up. The music,
sure, I get that.
You lean into that,
but I get that. But I'm saying, like, are there like, let's say, in February of 2022, for some reason you're like, oh, I'm gonna go and I want to rewatch all the Disney Plus stuff, the MCU Disney Plus stuff. Do you think this will be still as enjoyable when you're like 2 months after the holiday season and now you're seeing more holiday stuff?
I think for the people who liked it, yes.
Okay.
And I think, but again, I think the fact that it is Christmas helps its rewatchability for the people who like Christmas, because it's a feeling. Christmas is a feeling. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about family being together, and yeah, exactly. It's about, look, this T-shirt right here. I'm representing.
Oh, family.
Vin Diesel. F is for family.
Family.
Okay? So I think it'll help it in that regard. You're right. I think most people probably aren't watching it outside of it. But to be honest, I don't think a lot of shows get rewatched that often, right? That's kind of outside the norm.
Real quick, we're entering the third season of COVID. And I've rewatched The Office at least half a dozen times already.
There's exceptions to the rule, but those are rare. You know, not every show can be that.
Stargate SG-1, kid.
Nope, it's not though.
It's not.
You start it and you
Also,
didn't finish it.
Right. The Office is different. That's a show you can just throw on and passively watch. It's like a lot of these
any
MCU
episode.
shows.
Yeah.
You know, they don't
Dragon
strike
Ball Z.
the shows you can just kind of throw on and enjoy. You know, they're more. You have to kind of lock in a little bit more.
Yeah. So no, I'm glad we heard Learman's one-word impression because this show, I think, clearly was made for a very specific kind of person, right? And I said right off the top of this show when we did a couple weeks ago, the first 4 episodes. You know, I'm not the biggest Christmas fan, and I feel like that this show, at least the first part of it, really pulled on those strings, and that's why I couldn't get into it. Mm-hmm. And it still continued, like when he's like in the tree, you know, in that last episode.
Oh, that tree scene was stupid.
Like I get it, I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wish I liked it, and I'm like, I should, but I'm a Grinch, so I don't.
Isn't it weird that they had like the whole finale take place there, and as we established at the end of No Way Home, like Peter's apartment is right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he's web slinging. Yeah.
Oh man, he probably just missed it by minutes.
I understand why Spider-Man, you know, logistically did not show up in the show, but like remove all the studio stuff and like, you know, having Spider-Man show up in a Disney Plus show, you know, it's kind of like that universe and explanation where it's like, well, it doesn't make sense that he just wouldn't pop out to see like the tree falling in the middle of New York. But I don't know.
Not only that, but you also have like this armed gang group with guns. Not only that, you have a sniper shooting on like ritzy pritzy, like expensive people, like shooting at you know rich people.
Well, real quick,
also like where the fuck was the NYPD?
There's a response time. Also, have you not been to like the grocery store? Maybe Spider-Man stepped out and wasn't home.
But here's the other thing too is that he's been wiped from everyone's memory. He still knows who Hawkeye is. So if he sees a bunch of arrows flying around, maybe he would have assumed Hawkeye's got it covered. But Hawkeye's not going to know who he is. So if he shows up, Hawkeye might start shooting at him. It's just Spider-Man's appearance in this situation where no one knows who he is would have created more confusion than help.
It would have been no one knows who Peter Parker is. People still know who Spider-Man is.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good call. Damn it. That's so confusing to get your head around.
But to be fair, though, like if it's a situation where Hawkeye knows he's going to be in central New York City or wherever, the Rockefellers, wherever they are, right, he doesn't have an ability to contact Spider-Man. Right? Because he doesn't know who
Peter Parker is. Yeah.
Right?
Or
so that part I guess kind of works, but I guess what is weird is like if your friendly neighborhood spider is like web slinging around. Also, like Peter Parker, the person, he ain't got no friends, no family. Not to be depressing here, so it's not like he's got anything.
He's at Andrew Garfield level involvement.
He's got nothing else to do, so he could easily jump in and help. So it's not like he's busy.
Yeah, but he's studying for the GED. Like, he's still going to work.
We have no idea what Peter Parker was doing in that 10-minute period that they had that fight.
That fight was like 15 minutes.
Hey, and that 5-minute response time makes all the difference.
Unfortunately, having to have called 911 recently and how long I was on hold for, I guess,
disturbing.
It was very disturbing, actually. Yeah. Maybe there was
That's a shower, to be honest.
Response time.
15 minutes. That's like he hops out of the shower. He's like, "What I miss?"
Yeah, that's true. You can. Yeah, there's tons of. He might have been seeing a movie with
no one.
Right, listen, he still has the ability to make friends.
Is that sad?
I've done it too. I love it. But he still has the ability to make friends. He could have made friends with the ice cream parlor guy, and maybe.
What if the spell goes deeper, and it's like. People that get to know Peter Parker
can't make new memories.
They forget who Peter Parker.
Yeah. Memento.
Wow, that would be very dark and depressing.
That's super dark. There's actually real quick as we're on this thing. There is similarly in terms of like the horror of like everyone forgetting who you are, but you still have to kind of go through life. There is a Black Mirror holiday special episode with what's the good looking guy's name? Who's
John
in
Hamm?
What is it? John Hamm.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Hamm, where basically in this universe or world, people or criminals they visually can't be seen by other people.
Yeah.
Like they're just static. You can't hear them. You can't see them.
Right.
And like that's how they punish like prisoners and like criminals and stuff.
Because everyone lives through social media or something.
Well, no, they're able to block people with visual whatever the hell.
Yeah, which I mean, it's a form of death, right?
Yeah.
If no one knows you and you can't interact with anyone, it's like you.
Seems like a boon for burglars, though.
I mean, if that's what you're into.
For criminals, like they can just kill everyone.
Yeah, right.
And that,
without consequence.
And that's you can make a thought experiment here, and you can go down a dark road. Like at that point, why wouldn't
darker than
why
wouldn't they just commit crimes en masse?
I would imagine like the murderers are like put in a worse type position.
Yeah, maybe.
Because John Hamm's crime was he helped the
president.
It was essentially like manslaughter, where he was intruding on someone's life, giving dang advice, and it went south, and then he tried to cover it up.
That's right.
So it's not like he was actively trying to kill people or wanting to kill people.
Right.
And his entire business worked upon the idea of like people being able to hear and see him.
Right.
So yeah, that's a fitting punishment. But like he also went steps further, where it was like, there was a cut. Like I think there was a whole thing with a married couple and a kid, and the mother blocked herself and the kid from being able to see the ex-husband or father or whatever.
Right.
Which again, that's another like especially for custody, that's insane. Mm-hmm. So
because I think he finds out in the end that it's not his daughter.
Wait, say that one more time.
I think I might be misremembering this entire episode.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure that guy finds out like it's not his daughter. In the end,
it's not
like
his daughter. Oh man,
she like slept with someone. Like
the
reason she like left and everything was because like she had an affair, and then like he kills the daughter because he doesn't turn the heat on or like doesn't feed them or something. I don't know. It's been a long time since I saw it.
This part just got dark as fuck. Anyway, let's get back into happy things. So Eleanor, the mother of Kate Bishop, she's going to jail.
Wow. So it felt to me, right? Say what you will about the show and that relationship, and I do agree with Arjuna. The whole thing was a little strange, but it's a pretty good way to create a villain. Like your own daughter sends you to jail. I'm like, oh man, she is definitely coming back as a villain, right? Is she a villain? First of all, the Eleanor Bishop character, is that for all the comic book experts, Ravi Arjuna, is she a comic book character who is real and does something?
Can I ruin the magic?
Yeah, please.
For a second. You said that we're comic book experts. We're Google masterminds.
Wow, the magic is over. I had no idea.
Cut that for the actual. Cut it, Arjuna. That's a no.
All of your credibility is gone now.
Cut it.
Also, IT professionals, same thing. They're really good at Google.
That too. Cut that out.
Yeah. Cut.
Story creatives, same fucking thing.
Don't they just?
I've muted his mic. Somebody else talk.
Anything that has a question around it.
Oh man. But Arjuna, I know you've researched this. Eleanor Bishop. Who is she? Is she a villain? Is she a nobody? Because it really seems like she'll be back as a baddie.
So I actually didn't research Eleanor's background
I am
before
shocked.
this podcast, but I will say the one character that does have more prominence and in the comics too is Derek Bishop, which was Kate's dad. So a lot of people thought because we didn't see his actual death at the beginning of the show that maybe he was still alive or whatnot. Maybe that's still a part of it, but he has some comic book significance.
Well, did anyone? Yeah. Did you get the impression though that her dad wasn't really her dad? I almost felt like after thinking about that first episode, right? Young Kate Bishop is introduced to us. Obviously, it's right before the Battle of New York or whatever. And then thinking about like the rest of this show, I almost feel like it might have been her real dad. That wasn't her real dad. It was like an adopted situation. Like it's her real mom, and she remarried. So I feel like that her real dad might be alive and doing something. Like Derek Bishop maybe is somebody else. I don't know.
Maybe. I think the show did like to use the red herring quite a bit. Obviously, like Jack. So Jack in the comics
he was hilarious, by the way.
so Jack in the comics is Swordmaster.
Swordmaster.
He's the mentor of Hawkeye, right? And so they didn't do that connection at all. He was just this complete.
Please tell me.
Who was actually incredible. Like also another scene stealer once you kind of realized he was nobody, and now he'll become king of the LARPers, and it'll be great. We'll get a whole Jack and the LARPers spinoff. Which I would watch. I'd watch that. I'd be in.
Yeah. So a couple things there to unpack with what you just said, right? First of all, Swordmaster. Love it. First of all, that name fits the character that we got perfectly.
Oh yeah,
the mustache and the sword. Like he actually turned out to be, I think, one of my favorite elements of the whole thing because he was so over the top and goofy, and that honestly fits very much with the theme of like Christmas and like. Is he the bad guy? Isn't he?
Classic action.
I thought it was super. It was like a super fun thing. But second, it seems like it's set up quite nicely for him to be some kind of mentor to the new Hawkeye, right? Kate Bishop. So maybe that's how they're playing that he will be the mentor to Hawkeye. It's just the new one.
Maybe shout out to Tony Dalton who played Jack. He's also in Better Call Saul in the last season, I believe, season 5. He's a really great actor, and I thought he brought like a great charm and wit to this character who was just obsessed with swords.
Oh man, I love it.
He's a sword master.
He's an eccentric swordsman.
So going back to Eleanor, one thing I saw, it was actually pointed out on social media was. Specifically with Kate and Eleanor's relationship, and then Kate and Clint's relationship, it's like, okay, so Kate couldn't forgive Eleanor for like killing people, a couple people and whatnot, but she could forgive Clint for killing hundreds of people. A man she only met a couple days ago.
So you're absolutely right. Here's why I'm okay with it though. So two things there. You always judge your own family harshest than anyone else.
Sure.
Second, she's a teenager, and teenagers.
No, she's not. She's a young adult. She's in
she's
college.
Like 21 or 22.
Yeah,
she's 22.
A young person, and trust me, I'm in my 30s. I'm guilty of this. See no evil, hear no evil. Like it's what you see. You're always going to judge harder than what you hear about. Right?
Sure.
And also the fact that when she was super young, she saw this Hawkeye, falling off a building, shooting aliens, and providing her with an archetype to live up to, right? So she's already like made him this mythological character in her mind.
Yep.
She's based her entire childhood on trying to emulate what she saw in that one scene.
Also, as Michael pointed out, Hawkeye, even as Ronin, was killing bad guys, while her mom killed an old man for crying out loud.
Another eccentric character.
Yeah.
Also, the kid.
Yeah.
The little kid.
Yeah. The annoying little shit.
The annoying little shit. I liked him. He was hilarious. Like that little scene with him and Armand, with Jack. Sorry, with Jack. It's like, I know what you did. You peed yourself, and and he's like, I'm waiting for you to die. Like, who says you can't go to jail so I can take your wine right now? That whole back and forth.
They're related.
Hilarious.
How they're what?
I think it's
his
nephew and uncle. Yeah,
okay.
I believe.
Something like that.
Because I think he was the old man's son,
grandson,
or grandson. So maybe great nephew, maybe. They're related. They're family.
They're weird.
Yeah,
they're old rich fucks.
Oh yeah, just kind of piggyback off of that. I thought it was to Kate's kind of whole origin and her explanation to Clint of like why she wanted to be a superhero, because you're just a guy with 2 sticks and a string, and you're going up against superpowered people, and you kind of prove that anyone can do this, and that's what she wanted to do too.
Yeah,
I thought it was like cool and interesting and powerful too, because like obviously like the MCU is filled with like tons and tons of superpowered beings, which is one of my favorite parts of the spoilers for No Way Home, but the Venom after credit scenes where he's just like to Danny Rojas, where he's just like, so this is just a world filled with superpowered individuals, and it's
Here's Hulk, and he's like,
Yep.
what's wrong with what was it? Something Protector?
Yeah.
The
Lethal Protector.
the Lethal Protector. It's like he's right.
Shit name. That's what he said. Yeah.
Because like let's see how he's because Venom's only in the MCU world for about what 24 hours or so.
Yeah.
Roughly.
or two,
maybe
yeah.
a couple of days, maybe.
Well, no, because remember between the casting of the spell and then everything going back,
Was it just a day?
it's a day.
I think it's 2 days. I think it's 2
I
days.
thought it might have been 2, yeah.
I think it's just. I think like physical hour, like it's 24 hours.
24
or so.
hours.
Yeah. So the course of 2 days, but in that time, Venom just gets trashed.
I mean, say what you
And
will.
Todd learns about the MCU.
Yeah. I just want to, let's just point out that at some point we're going to have to rank the names. We have Lethal Protector, Sword Master. Mm-hmm. At some point we're going to have to sit down, take all these names, and rank them.
All the MCU characters.
Yeah. Well, just the names. So, real quick, I saw you had Kingpin here under talking points. Do we think he's dead?
No,
Okay.
we didn't
So
see him
in the
die
comics-
on camera.
In the comics, he obviously has a huge
Presence.
a huge arc with Maya and Echo, and in one of those arcs specifically, when she finds out that the Kingpin kind of killed her father and all this other betrayal stuff, she actually blinds him. So some people speculate that when she shoots him in the head, she potentially shot him in the eyes and took an eye out, and so he would be blinded. And then he'll be the big bad for her show. And, because she is a deaf superhero, maybe having a villain that also has like a disability would make some sense. Especially like we also know, obviously, from No Way Home, Matt Murdock is now in the MCU officially. So perhaps he also becomes involved in the show, and you kind of have this.
That would be a lovely way to reintroduce Daredevil. Like, don't make him the main character make Maya the main character. I was gonna say Deadpin. Kingpin is the.
Oh, I love Deadpin.
Kingpin just shows up in these shows for no reason.
Or like Maya did kill Kingpin, so now he is Deadpin.
He is dead, yeah. But yeah, Kingpin's the main villain, and then you have Daredevil kind of like jumping in to assist. And he has a lot of stuff he could show up in, right? Like She-Hulk is another easy one he could potentially show up in as he's a lawyer. He could easily show up in the Echo show, especially because I think Echo and Daredevil have romantic interest or romantically linked in the comics, so they could potentially do that.
It seems like every character has hooked up with every other character in the MCU.
Yeah,
like,
basically, the MCU.
Somebody had a fling with somebody.
The MCU is like a workplace in America.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where everyone hooks up with everyone.
It really is.
Makes sense, though, because when you're working that close with people.
Yeah. And also in life or death situations. Don't get me wrong. I understand it. It makes a lot of sense. Also, these are like superheroes, right? Mm-hmm. So they're supposed to be like the best of the best.
Well, actually, it makes you wonder, like the original artists and writers and editor-in-chiefs like at Marvel that were writing all these things, how many of them hooked up with each other?
They all did.
And it translated into these romances in
between writing the MCU and playing D&D with the same group of people.
This is all the same people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nerddom is
Isn't the most like famous affair in Marvel Comics history like Scott Summers, Cyclops, having like a telepathic affair with Emma Frost?
I don't know if that's the most famous, but it does seem like the most
like the most messed up.
Well, no, the one that got people insane was when Iceman had
came out as gay.
Yeah, that made people lose their fucking marbles.
I mean, that was a few years ago. I feel
like
there was like one of the
and then more recently, Clark Kent or Superman's son. Recently, this was in like the last couple of months, there's a comic where he comes out as bisexual. It was trending, and people were like losing their shit. And it's like, oh my God.
I mean, honestly, this might be I don't know if this is a good conversation, but it's a conversation that's happening nonetheless. A lot of, let's just say YouTubers, I guess. YouTubers and social media influencers are calling out shows like this.
They like to call themselves content creators.
They like to call it, instead of the MCU, they're saying the MCU.
MCU?
They don't like so there's a very specific group of people. They don't like the direction that the MCU and then at larger comic books and comic book shows and movies are going. They're saying that it's becoming too woke, quote unquote. That's the best way.
What does that even mean? I'm willing to spend the rest of this pod
You want to spend the rest of the pod?
What is that? I don't know what that means anymore. I've given up.
It's because Kingpin's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, so he's too woke.
That's why.
Yeah. Let's go back. Let's tie it back in. Why was he wearing a Hawaiian shirt?
Well,
was he on vacation?
Well, and here's my question for you guys. There are some people that do not think this is the Netflix Daredevil version of the Kingpin. This is a variant. This is a different version.
A variant?
Or whatever.
Actually, you know why that might work?
Kingpin.
Because we all felt it was off, right? We all felt that the acting was off. But what if it's not the acting? What if it's the character who's off?
Wait.
Boom. If it's a variant.
Better.
Now we're talking. Now we're cooking.
Here, better should tie it back into the Disney Plus shows. Because the multiverse at some point has to end in terms of everyone's...
Does it?
Yeah, it does at some point. Remember when we all saw Spider-Man Far From Home?
Yes.
And Nick Fury's in there, and we're like, oh, there's something off about him.
Yeah.
And it turned out he was a Skrull.
Oh, Skrulls.
There is Secret Wars in the works.
Oh.
And we did see some... there were definitely some scenarios where Kingpin takes an arrow to the fucking chest.
Right.
He has a bomb blow up in his face.
Yeah, he's super powered.
As if he's got superpowers. Like, I know he's a tough guy.
Yeah.
But let's be honest here for a second.
Whoa.
A bomb in your fucking face.
Yeah.
And no scratch?
I was thinking about that too. And I'm like, they're leading into this comic book Christmas thing a little too much. But you're right. If he's a Skrull,
makes sense.
Okay, well, I think we found a
social
clip for this
I didn't
one.
even consider that. Yeah,
yeah, that changes a lot. So, so let me ask.
It would also explain why he's dressed so comical.
Yeah, you're
Who
right.
the fuck wears a Hawaiian shirt in winter?
You're right, because an alien doesn't know They don't know the fashion rules of this world. They're like, they think it looks good.
Aliens are stupid.
To be honest, I think it looks good, but I'm an alien, so that's how we explain that.
Though,
this is a Skrull. We have it here first.
We have it here first. Though Lerman did say that the Hawaiian shirt, white suit, and hat is from the quote family business comic arc. It's actually his screensaver on his computer, and it has been since I started doing Daredevil years ago.
Oh, interesting. And that's a quote from D'Onofrio.
Oh, not Learman.
Not Learman. No, this is a.
Oh,
that's why. It's,
I thought it would be funnier if your screensaver.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that's really specific. I had no idea.
Cool.
Learman.
Can you show me?
I fuck Daredevil's show all the time.
Wow.
We didn't hear that for the folks who aren't in the room with Christian and Ravi.
I will say that if what we have said is true, then it explains the weirdness of that last episode perfectly.
Or counter to that.
Yeah.
Or what we have just done is we have given an out to anyone in the MCU that does piss poor acting or piss poor writing. It could be easily just swiped under the rug as they were a Skrull.
You know what? You have to applaud.
It's actually pretty good.
Well
it's
done.
pretty good.
Well
pretty
done,
good.
MCU and Kevin
wow,
Feige
they
for
did
covering
a great job.
Literally
every
all your bases.
Yeah.
You can blanket statement. So anything weird that happens, you want to bring back dead characters, multiverse, bad acting, Skrulls. Like at this point, they've got us in their web.
They have us by the balls.
The balls. Man. What did you guys think of Renner in this finale and the show overall?
So flat, like you said it best. Like
flat.
He like his acting from the first episode. It did a nice big triangle.
Episode 4.
Yeah, it got really really good, and then it was just I'm reading a script.
Yeah, it's confusing because, and maybe this is just more to the character, right? Like
he's a Skrull.
He's a Skrull, exactly. Hawkeye
becomes a Skrull.
Hawkeye is a spy. he's lived his whole life being nondescript, right? That's how he lives his life, and that's how you can explain, that's just who he is. That explains that. It's just that what I got in episode 4 was like, I felt like so emotionally connected to that character for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was so good. I was like, oh my God, like this is it. This is where the show's going to turn around. And then the next 2 episodes, he reverted back to Hawkeye, which makes sense. He's still Hawkeye. He's not going to stop being Hawkeye.
He is a hot guy.
He's a hot guy. Yeah. So I hate to use the word. I hate to say that it was bad because I think it's the character. I think it's just a decision that he has to carry half the show, right? Along with Kate Bishop. I just, to me, it just, I didn't quite feel it. I didn't. If I was, like I said, if I was more into Christmas, maybe, but
Who hurt you?
Santa Claus.
Oof, there we go.
It just feels like the show lost steam halfway through, right? Yeah. It felt like the last few episodes, they kind of had these great ideas, and maybe, it is an MCU problem, and we've talked about it before, but just like that third act problem of like, all right, how do we wrap it up? Maybe it's more jarring because we just saw Spider-Man No Way Home, which had
I'm still riding that high.
Third act, right? Yeah. And then it's just like this is much lower than that, and just in terms of how satisfactory it is to the story that we saw.
Actually, I'm not even gonna lie. No Way Home might have ruined not just MCU stuff, but things for a while. I've been watching like Succession. Now I know I've also heard that season 3 is the weakest season.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the finale yet. I heard the finale kind of redeems the whole thing. Haven't watched it yet.
I've watched it.
And
I haven't seen any of the other Succession.
Oh, wow. But like after No Way Home, though, everything just feels kind of blah. Even my Dragon Ball Z. I'm not even going to touch Kuroko's basketball. I feel like that might be ruined too. I'm not going to touch Triple Frontier. That might be ruined too.
Christian,
this is like the
Triple
thing.
Frontier.
I can now retcon any decision and blame it on No Way Home. So any bad decision I've made, I'm just blame it on No Way Home. Like it ruined it. So but yeah, no. I still, No Way Home is just such a
so obviously riding the high of No Way Home. No Way Home had really good like after credit scenes that obviously helped, I think, to a degree in terms of like the whole experience.
Ooh, I know what you're this.
Hawkeye following other MCU Disney Plus properties, it had an after credit scene, just not one that I think
is it sad
anyone wanted.
This is going to sound way worse than it is, but that after credit scene, the mid credit scene, was the first time. Was the most emotion I had the whole episode. I thought it was funny.
It
was funny, bad. And I was like into it. I'm like, it was catchy. I'm like, oh man, I got more.
Sing it.
I got more emotion out of that than I did the rest of the episode.
No, but seriously, sing because I can't remember it for the life of me.
God, I can't either.
There you go.
The chorus line is, "I could do this."
It
all
was
day.
catchy. I could do this all day.
I can do this all day.
Boom. It's like as Emmy.
It's a note.
Grammy winning podcast producer Michael Learman.
But that after credit scene was horseshit.
It was horseshit.
Look,
what
the MCU does sprinkle in.
Show?
Look, the MCU does sprinkle in like the fun after credit scenes that are just for fun, right?
Wait, time out. There wasn't another after credit scene, right? Okay, that was it. So it's just that. Okay,
but sometimes they'll do that, right? Like the Guardians one with like Howard the Duck. Like that's just it's just a silly like for fun one.
But this was like 3 minutes long.
Yeah, but I think if you don't like musicals, you could have just turned it off.
You can just skip it.
No, because I'm watching. I didn't. But that's the thing. I didn't know. Like, because they kept going to shots of the fucking audience. Yeah. Right. And I thought they were going to reveal something.
No. So I'm not gonna lie. While I was watching that, and then you see Loki shows up.
Yeah.
And then the guys next to him, I'm like, wait, is one of those Kang? I was looking for the Easter eggs in the fucking musical.
Yeah.
To see what the hell the MCU is teasing. Not to say that they didn't. Also, I'm super confused. When they showed the Avengers in the musical number, who's the guy with the...
Ant-Man.
Why is Ant-Man included in the...
So in the very first episode, Clint says that when they're watching the musical,
Ant-Man wasn't in it.
He wasn't there either, and he points out Ant-Man. So it's just like they just factually got
the producers
wrong.
got it wrong.
Yeah,
which is or this is a different universe.
Oh my god! Or it's a Skrull.
It's a Skrull.
There you go.
A Skrull's doing the musical. Ooh.
A Skrull is producing it and writing it.
Is producing the musical. The Skrull likes to pair Hawaiian shirts with the white blazer. The Skrulls are just a little off with their
how they
art.
remember things or how they portray things.
Yeah, I kind of love it though.
But yeah, I didn't appreciate that after credit at all.
You didn't appreciate it
because
even after Hamilton.
Because like you guys know that I have a strong dislike for musicals for whatever reason.
You saw Hamilton and liked it.
That's different. Because I was very surprised. My expectations were so low. Very, very low. This was different in the sense that I didn't know a musical was coming. When it was there, I was too afraid to fast forward and not pay attention because I thought maybe there's going to be some kind of secret or something in there. So I had to sit there and watch the entire thing. So basically, I was forced to watch nonsense.
4 minutes of a musical.
And that was mean. That's rude. That's
you felt
inappropriate.
So you felt
attacked.
Manipulated by the MCU.
Yep.
Well, Arjuna, as a lover of musicals, I have to hear your rebuttal to this and your opinion of the musical number.
I thought the musical number was fun. I think it was the right amount of like cheesiness, but also production to be a musical that likes to take advantage of like certain things in pop culture. I would go see the musical. I wouldn't pay a lot of money to see it, but I would go see it.
What's a lot of money?
Yeah.
Set the over under.
How much?
$10. $10.
10?
All right, Christian, I'm going to make the over under with you. I'm going to say right now, $150 or $150 or
go see the musical?
or more, or between. I guess I need to set a range between 150 to 225 per ticket.
Yeah,
is what Arjuna will go and spend to see this musical.
Well, he just said he would pay $10.
Right, but I think he's lying. He's lying to us.
I would definitely try and get a media pass or.
Here's the thing.
I would not pay. Musicals in general are expensive because there's obviously a lot that goes into it. It's a little out of my price range for like. I don't go to musicals very often. The last musical I went to for free.
Which one was that?
The Love Actually Live.
Oh, how was it?
That's cool.
How was Love
That was actually really fun. Love Actually Live was fun. It was cool because they basically mixed like showing parts of the movie and then emphasizing scenes by having actors like sing about it and sing.
Here's
like,
a quick follow-up question.
Oh, interesting.
What is Love Actually?
What? It's one of the greatest Christmas movies of all time.
What?
It's got Hugh Grant.
Is he the PM?
The guy from Walking Dead.
Is he the PM?
Andrew Lincoln.
He is the PM. Yeah.
Oh, I think I've seen it.
Yeah. You've definitely seen it.
Is there the airport scene or something?
Yeah, it starts at the airport.
Yeah.
After.
It's got Bill Nighy.
Yeah.
Who? We talked about it in our Ted Lasso pod.
Qui-Gon Jinn's in it.
Qui-Gon is in it?
Actually, isn't it?
As Qui-Gon?
Who's the kid?
Ian McGregor?
No,
it's Jojin from
that's Jojin
Game of
from
Thrones.
Game of Thrones. There we go. That's who that is. I'm about to say Anakin. I'm like, that's not Anakin. Who is it?
Oh, that's Jingle All the Way.
That's Jingle All the Way. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Shout out Jingle All the Way. My personal favorite Christmas movie.
All right, back to Hawkeye. If you guys had the ability to decide the future of Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, what do you think you would want to see?
So,
can I go first? Or Christian, you can go first.
Me first? Okay. The future has to be Young Avengers. But Young Avengers is shaping up to be a very strange team, right? We have, first of all, the Young Avengers, they're all product of like post-blip world, right? And that's clearly a bunch of trauma that every character at this point is still dealing with in some way because that it's prominent in a lot of these new things. So Kate Bishop to me first of all, Kate Bishop, I thought was awesome. Like her by herself, like the portrayal, the character, I think there's a lot of potential there. Just like with the new Black Widow, with Florence Pugh and Elena, yeah. So I think the future of the Young Avengers is in like really good hands, but I don't want it to be so cut and dry. I want to see perhaps before you even get a team, maybe there's two sides of this team that have to do battle first.
Like a civil war.
Kind of like start with the Civil War. And it's easy, I think it's easy to do with Louis Drury Dreyfus's character. I ruined her name. Dreyfus. Was it Val? Val, right?
Val is the character name.
Yeah. She obviously is behind the scenes, and I think she's pulling a lot of strings at this level of the MCU. Right, like at the Clint Bartons and the Black Widows and the Kate Bishops of
U.S.
like
agents.
That. Yeah, exactly. Agents, secret agents, and spies, and all that good stuff. So I don't know. I kind of would like to see like a Kate Bishop versus new Black Widow. These two teams kind of going at it. That's what I'd like to see.
So
like
they
have the best enemies are ones that like each other at some point. Think of like Green Goblin and Spider-Man, like they're friends at one point and then they're enemies. And I think that makes really compelling drama. Yeah. So I'd like to see these two teams sort of do battle.
So then it's not necessarily you want to see Hawkeye or Kate Bishop by itself. You'd rather see a Young Avenger.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
And we're getting more Young Avengers, right? We're getting America Chavez in Doctor Strange. We're getting Ironheart in Black Panther 2. We're getting, we had some allusions to Isaiah Bradley's
Miss Marvel
grandson.
coming.
We have Miss Marvel coming.
Is Echo a Young Avenger or no? We don't know.
I don't think so.
She's
too old.
She's too old.
She's too old. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people thought that the female version of Loki would be a Young Avenger, but she's also probably
too old. Yeah,
she's too old.
Yeah, too old. Yeah, she's Loki's age, so therefore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I bet what you could do, instead of like a Civil War, is like you might have these like Young Avengers, and you could do Secret Avengers. They have West Coast Avengers. There's all these different like
Avenger teams,
sub-Avenger teams, right?
Yeah.
There was a rumor out there that Sam Wilson is going to be the leader of like the West Coast Avengers, which
West Coast
doesn't make sense to me because like he's from like the East Coast and the South.
It's obviously going to be relocating.
Does he have a good like relocation package?
Probably. I don't know.
Make sure he's got a good tax guy.
I don't know. We saw his financial
remember
situation.
The loan thing.
It's not great.
It's not great.
It's not a great financial situation, so I don't know.
Yeah, Tony screwed them all. If you really think about it.
Actually, where did Tony's money go? What the fuck?
Well, in Spider-Man, it's also kind of revealed too. Like, I think a lot of the money is probably going to be locked up because after the events of Far From Home, with everything with Mysterio, Stark Industries was under like federal investigation, so a lot of equipment was being taken, and so a lot of like I don't think you can. Because like even Clint says like the trick hours are they're hard to come by. You don't make them as much. I think it's because they don't have access to all that Stark tech
the
anymore.
Tech, the Stark.
Right. Yeah, it's all limited now.
The vibranium.
And honestly, real quick, I know the governments are kind of like shitty, but like after like a universe almost ending event, I would hope there would be more government control on all these weapons of mass destruction. Just going fucking everywhere.
The government would have disappeared too. So.
Yeah, but like in that time,
new
figure it out.
Elected. Like
they
government
also
is probably
mentioned
just as much chaos as the rest.
Isn't that what She-Hulk's going to be about?
Actually,
government and politics.
The Winter Soldier talks a little bit about government and like the reemergence of stuff, and then the Sokovia Accords are dropped in there as well of like who can do what. Remember, so I'm sure that's all coming into play as well in terms of like, and maybe that's how we get Young Avengers like. There is the government Avengers team, right? And then there's these kids that come up that all kind of unite and be like, we're going to be the true Avengers, because I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure the Avengers compound was all Tony's money and everything.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he built it out. Yeah.
Right. And remember, Fury is up in space right now doing his own thing. So there's no one really there to like unite an Avengers team right now. So it'll kind of be interesting to see like Well, I mean, Wong is Sorcerer Supreme, right? So there might be like this cosmic team, and we know he's obviously like powing still with like the Hulk and Captain Marvel. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see, at least on the team up side, like who is kind of uniting which specific factions and teams and what they're going to be called and whatnot.
And you're right, because say what you will about Captain the Winter Soldier, they did set up this idea of these two different sides on the ground level, right? Government versus like personal freedoms and stuff. And which is actually, if you think about it, it's just a continuation of the Stark versus Captain America debate that we saw evolve and change, and how they both flip sides. So seeing sort of like the descendants of that, almost the descendants of that idea, I think would be super fascinating. And I love, and then I guess I'll just add on then. If you have two teams, one led by Kate Bishop and one led by Yelena, perhaps they do battle in the courtroom, and one will be led by
oh my god,
one will be represented by Daredevil, and one will be represented by She-Hulk. Why not? If we're gonna get like super government level, and let's touch upon certain things, I want to see just one episode of a courtroom drama in one of these shows.
You will get that in She-Hulk.
Good.
They've already said like it's
Law and Order.
Because not that it's like full on Law and Order, but like there is like there's legal, because she's a lawyer and like like there's a whole slew. There's a couple of comics where like she actually has to defend like
Kingpin,
the Nova Corps, like pulls in a bunch of people for like an intergalactic lawsuit.
She represents like a galactic court.
Like there's like a galactic court and she represents somebody.
All right, that sounds like Avengers 5. Let's do it.
Oh my god. Let's look at our bold predictions that we had. We made these predictions at the start, or actually before the Hawkeye series really kind of kicked off.
No, this was after the first 4 episodes, I think.
Yeah, after it really kicked off.
Ooh.
Krishna has said, "What's her name will appear."
Yeah, who is that? I don't remember.
I'm assuming that you meant Val.
Oh, I meant
Val's character.
Val. It must be Val.
Yeah.
Yep.
She did not appear.
Did not appear.
Yeah.
I had said Disney's going to give us 3 episodes as a Christmas gift to the viewer. So
it goes 7 instead of 6.
Exactly. As of the taping of this pod, that has not happened. That does not look like it's going to happen. There are no rumors. The last episode also kind of ended in such a way where that would make literally no sense. But I guess you could argue that after credit scene could be the extra episode.
No.
So therefore I was right.
You are wrong.
No, you weren't
That's
right.
not an episode.
The only way an extra episode would work is if they released the entire cut of Rogers the Musical.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Just,
if they did
that's just one number.
I'd give it.
If that happens,
extra
we
episode
retcon this episode of the pod.
No, we just put out a tweet.
No. I want you
We're
both
reshooting the
apologizing to me
No, I will never do
for my foresight
No.
and my hindsight.
I will never apologize. You're a Heine? What the hell?
Oh my!
And Arjuna finally said, "We will not only get Kingpin, but also Matt Murdock."
Honestly, all of these predictions, I felt like, were not outside the realm of possibility.
No, definitely not.
None of them happened.
None of them happened.
We did get Matt Murdock in No Way Home.
We did.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, we
Doesn't
did.
count.
We did.
'Cause these are Hawkeye or Hot Guy predictions.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it just says bold predictions.
Oh, that's a good point.
But it's in the Hawkeye outline.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but my bold prediction is that Ravi will have a cold prediction.
We also have a section in here for bold prediction into the future of Hawkeye. Now, at the taping
I
of
already gave
the
mine.
taping of this pod, obviously, we don't know if there is a season 2. We don't know where
so just the character.
or how we will see Hawkeye or Kate Bishop. Krishna, I guess you're going to go with yours, which is you'll see Kate Bishop
Leading one team
leading a
against-
team of the Young Avengers.
against Yelena.
Ravi, are you going to go with Kingpin as a Skrull? Because that's a really good one.
No, yeah, definitely going to go Kingpin as a
that's
Skrull.
a fantastic prediction.
But I also want to add on and change or kind of tack on the Krishnas where Kate Bishop does show up in Young Avengers. But I think one of the teams or the new Avengers or whoever is actually going to be led by Hawkeye. I think he's going to step up into that leadership role,
mentor role.
and become kind of give up the title of Hawkeye and become really like, I'm leading now this team. Because the other thing as well is
kind of like a Nick Fury-esque.
Almost like a Nick Fury, because like we saw this a lot in this season where he's old. He has been beaten down. He has ear damage.
Yeah.
He's got to retire at some point.
He's got to retire at some point. Falcon or now the new Captain America, he's a younger individual than Clint, and he can still definitely go and be what he needs to be.
Lead in the field.
Lead in the field, but I feel like a Hawkeye can lead from the shadows or lead from behind like a Nick Fury.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's going to be like this new dynamic of Nick Fury and Captain America, where now it's going to be Hawkeye and Wilson.
Like Natasha did when everybody disappeared.
Yep.
Or like Natasha, where
she
Natasha
and Captain America were
writing everything.
That thing, yeah.
So I think that's what's going to be his future.
I like that.
Interesting.
Junior, you got one?
Yeah, so I kind of, as we're at the end of 2021, I almost view like Falcon and Winter Soldier, Black Widow, Hawkeye as like this quote-unquote informal trilogy of similar characters who are kind of like street level, regular powered individuals kind of running around. There's more of a through line there. And I think we kind of get like an overall sequel to all of these properties in the form of some type of like Disney Plus kind of event, almost like a Disney Plus exclusive movie that will incorporate the new Captain America, the new Hawkeye, Yelena, all of these characters and stuff in some type of event in the next couple of years.
I mean, that would make sense around everything that we've seen with Val's character.
What would you call that team, you think? Would that be like the unofficial name, maybe?
Secret Avengers?
Rogers Babies.
Call it Thunderbolts, because that's the whole that's Val's team. That's the team, the team. And you have the power brokers, like, could be potentially a villain. You have Val obviously making that team, and maybe another team that goes against that team. But I do think they're like intentionally having this very grounded kind of street level story that's going on within the MCU, and I think it's all going to kind of come together. And maybe they're also looking at format, and obviously they've done the whole Disney Plus TV show thing, but I wonder if they're going to do like the Disney Plus kind of Marvel exclusive movie, and that to me seems like like a type of property you would try to do that for.
Yeah.
Instead of like Thor 5.
Yeah. As long as it gets like Winter Soldier level action in there, it'll be fantastic.
Oh, it'd be great.
But that's the level it's got to hit, because that's what it would need to be.
And Hawkeye emotion.
That's what these characters embody, right? That physical action. So let's bring whoever that fight choreographer was for Winter Soldier. Bring them back. That's what we need.
Especially because like a lot of the protagonists in these shows, big theme has been about like non-powered beings, right? Sam has no superpower.
Yeah.
The widows don't have any superpowers. Kate Bishop and Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye, Clint have no superpowers. So it feels very intentional with the way they're kind of communicating that and continuing that theme going forward, especially when like on the flip side, you have Doctor Strange and Wanda and Loki. And you have these insanely powered beings on the other end that almost feel like they're going into the cosmos, into the multiverse, all this other stuff, and you need something that's maybe a little bit more grounded. And
it's becoming very stratified, right?
Right.
Like the guys with powers, they seem to be sort of like almost becoming more powerful, like distancing themselves. Like, let's be honest, Wanda got a power upgrade. Loki has come into contact with a being, who transcends like space and time.
Right.
So it is interesting because you're right. It does seem to be they are making more of a point to emphasize that the ground level rely on skill, discipline, willpower, and that's what sets them apart, not necessarily
because it's like look even like Shang-Chi, right? Like if the battle in Shang-Chi, like how does that, like if he's like doing like this great cosmic stuff with with the 10 rings specifically, with like Doctor Strange and stuff, and then you have like Kate coming in there, does that really work, tonally? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Learman actually found us the name of the fight choreographer who actually did a lot of Marvel properties, including Winter Soldier, James Young. So in the big Arjuna in your prediction.
Boston Celtics NBA player?
Yeah, James Young, the ex Celtics player, did nothing for us. No, as long as they bring back James Young for this team up that Junior has proposed.
Krishna, was Hawkeye the finale episode good, and was Hawkeye season 1 good?
It pains me to say it. Well, I'm gonna have to say no for both.
Oof.
There were moments. There were good moments in both the finale and overall, but there were too many times where I was just waiting for the next scene. I felt very disengaged from the material. I think I understand what they were trying to go for. I didn't latch onto it personally. No for both. Arjuna, was the finale of Hawkeye and was season 1 of Hawkeye good to you?
I'm also going to say no for both. And if before the finale, I would have said yes to the show, but I think the finale did such an unsatisfactory job of wrapping everything up. But not necessarily even wrapping everything up, just kind of being some type of conclusion to the story that they gave, and going in such a weird and in a lot of ways bad direction, that it just kind of taints the whole show for me. Now, I do want to give the show another watch and whatnot, but to me, it's just, it did not end up being a good finale, and it kind of turned it into a bad show. So I'm curious to see what's kind of next for the future of these characters and whatnot. But to me, it's not great. And I kind of have to put it low on like the Disney Plus shows. Like, I think it's, it's probably 4th, maybe 5th. Maybe it's lower than Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't know. But that's where I'm at with it. Ravi, thank you for your time. Was Hawkeye's finale and first season / entire run good?
No, it was not good. Big surprise. Come on. And I will say it's probably the worst of the Disney Plus shows that we've gotten so far, and primarily because of the after credit scene.
What?
Okay, that doesn't that much.
Sense.
No, because it leaves such a disgusting taste in my mouth that I wasted those 4 minutes or whatever waiting for something a little bit more interesting than what we saw in the episode. At least with Falcon Winter Soldier, cool big battle end scene, kind of figured that was going to happen, whatever. But then there was an interesting after credit scene that opens things up, right? And then it also connects and ties into Black Widow and that whole thing. It just felt it felt nicer or whatever, right? While this was just a fucking musical to say fuck you. Like, it's a shitty way to end 2021 from like a Disney Plus MCU standpoint. Drop the ball. So fuck this show.
This is worse than your
fuck
Canto
this show.
Brown
That's
episode
unbelievable.
8 take.
Because a lot of people would
think
say
we would
like a
get
musical
there,
is the
but we
perfect
didn't.
way to end a year.
Stupid.
Like I said, it was my favorite part of the episode.
They should have done it in reverse, and it should have because Loki kind of
when
takes
started.
place whenever because it's outside time. Never have Hawkeye the series,
Wow.
and then have Loki and when Hawkeye was supposed to end, because that performance with Kang, that after credit scene, that would have been a great way to end 2021, where it's just like so many questions, so much mystery. But instead, we got a stupid musical.
So you're saying you would have been happy if the after credit scene had been, a TVA portal opens up and outcome and they just purge the entire world that Hawkeye was on, and
Yes,
it was all a bad variant.
Ravi would be so happy, and I feel like the rest of the world would hate it. Obviously,
probably
Ravi would have been like, "This is the greatest Disney Plus show ever. This is the greatest Marvel property."
Yeah.
This is the greatest piece of media.
A very
of all
small piece of people. Very small chunk of the population would agree with Ravi, and everyone else would be like, "You can't end a Christmas show like that. You can't kill everyone. What kind of monsters have you become, Disney?" I just ran out of air.
There we go. And with that, we're going to close it down here on this pod. What camera do I look at? That one? I'll look at that one over there. Thank you for tuning in here on the pod. As always, you can find us on social media at Was It Good on Twitter, on TikTok and Instagram, Was It Good Pod. We do live stream and post these pods in full on Was It Good. Not Was It Good, on youtube.com/Was It Good. We will have 2 more pods potentially before the end of the year. But we will say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all of that. Real quick before we do sign off, Christian Arjuna, what MCU property from 2021 are you thankful for?
That's Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, I have to say No Way Home as well.
It was such a good gift, especially because, at least for me, I was worried that the movie was going to be overstuffed and not great, and it
make you sick.
Also, also try and murder me, like other MCU movies tried to. But yeah, it was. The more I think about it, like I just really loved that whole movie and that experience. Just special.
It's close. It's close. I would say No Way Home and Loki for me were the big winners of this year, and I'm thankful for both of them. So yeah, for a movie, No Way Home, and I think for TV, Loki.
And I'm going to end it with I'm thankful that we got five Disney Plus shows.
Million.
Yeah, and because of that, we had a solid full year of Marvel content. So props,
keeping us in business.
Props to that. And with that, that's going to do it for us here. Bye.
Goodbye.